Yeah, welcome to the show.
Yes.
Yeah, got the Mad Deacon in the house.
What's up?
Yeah, going
Gotta get in
on.
there.
Yeah, everybody, welcome to the show. This is Deep Perspective, where we get deep on a lot of issues. And the first topic that we want to talk about is can a person be born gay? I know me and you hadn't talked about this previously, so you know what I'm saying. You had a view, I
Yeah.
had a view,
Yeah.
so we we can go ahead and get into that. I know a lot of people been waiting on, you know, how we gonna put it down on that? But I'm gonna let you start out. You can start out on your
Well,
perspective
yeah,
on
my
that.
perspective is, I mean, I know a lot of people believe that, you know, that a person could be born gay, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but um, my my perspective on that is that no, you can't be born gay. And the reason why you can't be born gay because God
Mm-hmm.
didn't, that's out of order with God. He says it's an abomination. He said when he created them male and
Mm-hmm.
female. No different. He created animals, male and female. And some people don't distinguish between when he said that when he made the male and female, and then both their names were Adam. You know, some people probably confused with that. Atoms are just molecules, genetic makeup, male and female. He didn't make
Right.
Steve and Stephen, Yvette.
Right.
You know, he made them male and he made them
Right.
female. And then by by way proof of that, he says that when a man finds a wife, so he finds a good thing. You know, says for that cause a man shall leave his house and then him and his wife should become one twain. It doesn't say nothing about a woman can marry a woman, and a man can marry a man. Because if you even look in the book of Leviticus, it says that if a man lies with another man, as he does with a woman, that both they should be put to death. So you know, and vice versa, the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with a woman. Even though it doesn't mention it in that aspect, it does later on down the line. But you, it goes against his order, you know, and that's spiritual. That's the spirit that's on the person. That's not an actual the thing that the person actually being born. And if you're born there, if you think that you're born that way, then how cruel of God. That's cruel of him, you know, to turn around and
Mm-hmm.
create somebody gay just to turn around and um, say that it's wrong. You know, if it was right,
Mm-hmm.
then he wouldn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Now people don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah Abraham, when Abraham was asking him if he find 50, would he spare the city? Yeah, he find 50, he was spared, but he didn't. And he went on all the way down and asked him about 20. You know, if he and he said he was spared, right? Because you find 50 that was righteous. And let me make sure I say that clear. Righteous, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing about
Mm-hmm.
them. They was doing all kind of sexual living, and there was men um, having sex with other men. When the angels came into into Sodom, they came to the house and they wanted to have sex um, with the angels,
The angels.
and you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that couldn't happen, you know. But nevertheless, the fact that people don't understand, he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. They don't think about. They just think about They think about the two cities. No, 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 no. It wasn't two cities. It was Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities. Take of it. If you think of it, take of New York, because that's my birthplace. Take of New York and you take of Manhattan, Bronx, you know, Queens, you know, Brooklyn. When you think about those in the Bronx. You say it's in five boroughs. So anybody that's in Miami, Broward County, the boroughs is one borough just eats up that just alone. So then think about it. You just imagine, think about being in Millen. Think about the city of Millen, Jenkins County. Say Millen, say Sardis, Twin City. You say Augusta. You say all the way up to Atlanta. He destroyed all those cities because that's what they was doing. They said the men came from all those cities. They came in, and that's what they was doing. So if they was born gay, you know, then that makes God a hypocrite. You know, create them
Mm-hmm.
gay and just to punish them and say that, you know, that he made them that way just so that he has some kicks in destroying them. That's not possible. You know, that is that's a spirit. That's a spirit. Just like you have um a spirit for lust. Nobody's born lusting. The baby ain't
Mhm,
born lusting. You know, baby not coming fondling themselves.
mhm,
You know, a baby, if a baby is innocent, and that's what the baby, when they come in the world, they come in innocent. So how can they come innocent
mhm.
and then just all of a sudden one coming innocent and the next one come in, you know, coming defiled? That's just not how it goes. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? But you know, people will agree, will disagree, and people will agree. But I mean, everybody has their own perspective and point of view. But it's right here written in the word, plain as day. You know, it's not possible for somebody to come out and be born gay. No different is possible for how can I say it? And a person can come out and a baby don't come out already a drunkard. You know, they don't come out wine.
Mhm.
A baby don't come out already, you know, a murderer. It just doesn't come out that way. Those are spirits that come on. No different than okay.
Let me say this right here. Since you said that part. This is how my this is just how my brain works. Like when you say people ain't born that way, but they say now I'm not saying I agree with this or not, but they say that there's a murder gene. Like these murderers or this or that, there's a gene that can have somebody predestined to be a murderer. Or you ever seen like a child from birth just mean as hell, or just they just have certain attributes that they
Mhm.
were born with? That's that's sort of the way I lean towards it. As I mean, I agree with what you saying, but I also look at being born in an imperfect world. Like I always have to go back to that's true, but there are some people born morphodikes, so they got a male and a female
Mhm.
organ, right? That's that may be that spirit part that you're talking about. Maybe people are born in a imperfectly. I also believe that um I believe that somebody gonna have a curse on them from birth, like like when you're dealing with witchcraft and all this kind of stuff, which is a whole nother subject. But I also look at it like, what if just like people are born with a retardation, um, what if that person like there's some type of gene that's make you a male, there's some type of gene that make you a female, and it get crossed up, and some people can just actually be I ain't gonna say born that way, but maybe you see what I'm saying? Like feminine tendencies if it's a man or this or that. Now I agree with what you're saying, but that would be my only like argument and the way I kind of look at it like on a side note. Not saying I agree or disagree because I do agree that I believe that I mean I wasn't born gay, so I don't know. Or I'm not gay. I just put it like that. But I do believe that some people make a choice. And like if you look at the like females, we can go that route. If you look at a lot of females, to me, like it's more gay females now than it is men. But I mean it could be I don't know I didn't do the research on that, but these females just doing it because it's a
Well,
fad. Or
yeah,
the dudes, too, you know.
yeah. It's fashionable for a lot of the feet, but I'm gonna tell you. But here's the thing that nobody really discussed, and even the females themselves, that even females as well as the male, majority of females have been molested. Majority of those females have been molested. And when you sit down and you talk, the ones that when you hear the stories and you hear different things, and just in the sidebar conversation, and you listen in or whatever comes to you, is that most of the girls, they either it's been their uncle, cousins, it's even been their father, stepfather,
Mm,
stuff like that has came in there and sexually assault them. But when they come in there and doing it, they come in there and tell them how pretty and how beautiful they are. That's why them girls, they no longer want to wear
mm,
dress. They don't want to put makeup on. They want to do nothing to look pretty. So they in turn, then they do everything to look just like a man. You know what I'm saying? Then you have the same thing happen to boys and them boys, and they, you have to understand when it happens. Look about it. Think about this. When a person is young, when a child is young, when a male or female, when they're young, um, they're still learning. So the impressionable, the impressions, they're still learning who they are and what's being embedded and put into them. A lot of times it's wrong that's being put in them and embedded in them, and then a lot of spirits are coached onto to to the baby. You have to tell them that they
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a little sissy or whatever little, and then you have, and I'm gonna just be real. You have mothers who nowadays who a lot of times they raise the boys more like girls and raise the girls like men. You see it. The boy, every time they see the boy child, the son, oh, that's, look at my baby. Every time you see him, he's still in Pampers. And I mean, in their
Mm-hmm.
mindset, and they treat him soft. You know what I'm saying? They tell the boy that he ain't got to worry about no girl. He ain't with no girl. She got his mama. So like I said,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of the imprint. That was what I was looking for. The imprint. The imprint that's being put on them, and that imprint a lot of times is, and I'm just being real and honest, that comes from the mother. The mother is the first one to imprint on her child. You know what I'm saying? In the way that she treats the child, and the way that she nurtures the child. She's the first one to put the imprint on them. And then you gotta understand that the mother's supposed to be praying over her child and watching over her child. Now, a lot of the birth defects that come in, as for a lot that come in because a lot of women are doing a lot of things that most people may not know about when they pregnant with the kids. Some people are still drinking, some people are smoking. Those things cause birth effects. Now we know that eggs get crossed up and those things happen. But you have a lot of women that are carrying babies, and they have more of a dominant persona about themselves. So, like I said, it's a lot of the imprint that, my opinion, is that a lot of the imprinting that's from the mother is trickled on to the child when the child is in the belly, you know, and,
Right.
and even when the
Right.
child comes out.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. That's like a segue into another subject too. Is I know one time we had talked about how the male is so
Yes,
feminine. These maybe not feminine physically, but I think I'm seeing like a lot of dudes, a lot of young cats, so
yeah,
emotional. Like you're not supposed to put your emotions. You're not supposed to use a woman's emotion. A woman is emotional, but when she's raising that
yes.
child on her
Hmm.
own, I think that's got a lot to do with it as far
Yeah,
as that,
because
you know.
you have to think about this. Think about this. Like I said, that the imprint. Now, when she's raising the male child, think about this. Usually, in most cases, it's a single mother, right? So when you think about single mother,
Uh-huh.
so that child, that male child, we was always taught there was, and even still to this day, is taught. Everybody is not doing it, but it's still being taught that a child is not supposed to hear everything or see everything that's going on in your life. And a lot of these women now are so far open, and they want their children to know about it. They want them to know what's going on and which they're not supposed to. A child is a child, and an adult is an adult. They shouldn't experience or know the things that you going on, what you partake in, and what you're doing. So a lot of times, you think about this: that the single parent, a single mother, every man that does her wrong. Think about this for a boy. Every man that does her wrong, she finds a way of raising that boy as a correction of the men that did her wrong or whatever. So now her son becomes her son husband. You feel me? Yeah,
Yeah,
she her son.
that's what I was just thinking about because I've been in relationships where they best friends and she go and this one particular situation, she goes and tell her son everything. Like that's what I'm saying? Like this is a very young guy and she got to tell him everything. Or this man did this to me, or he did this to me. You need to. It's like they on the
Okay, but
same
here's what
level.
she's doing. But here's
She's
what she's
putting.
doing. She's imprinting on her son. to be the man that every other woman is not.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing about it is, put it like this. I'm gonna say it like this: if we don't give a woman a respect for being a hoe, right? I'm gonna just say it like that. If we don't give her that respect, she's going to talk to her son in the way that her son is going to feel bad for her, and he's going to give her the respect. He's going to give her that respect. He's going to look up to her, and instead of looking down on him, now she got a man and she's raising him to be what other men are not, and it's not going to look at her and hold her in high value, but she want her son to hold her in high value, even when she out there doing wrong. So that becomes her best friend. That becomes her go-to person. That young boy, he walking around, he mad at other men, just because he didn't see another man say something to a woman or her, because he's reflecting off of what his mom is. She's that imprint that she's putting on him subconsciously. Subconsciously, he don't know what's taking place. He's thinking all the attributes and the attributes of his mother on her femininity. He's taking on all of that. But think about this. Think about the perversion that a mother does to her son. And I'm not saying all mothers, what I'm saying? I want to make sure that that's being known. It's not all mothers. Think about the perversion that she says to her son. When she asks her son, when she get dressed, ask him, how does she look? You're not supposed to be asking your son to look at you in a sexual way and tell you how you look. You're supposed to already know how you look as a female. You shouldn't allow him to see you in the mirror when you checking yourself. Because every woman, when they get dressed, what's the first thing they do when they're checking themselves? They stand in the mirror, they put their hands on the titties, check the titties, they turn around sideways, look at their stomach, then they turn around and look at their crotch, then they turn sideways and they look at their butt. And then they ask their son that same question, how do I look? They even, people don't even realize it, they even put it in the movie Baby Boy. When the mama asks him, how do I look? You look all right. She's nah, I look, that's the thing that's happening to a lot of young men, and they don't realize that being imprinted because the mothers are turning the boys into some husbands. That's her best friend. That's her go-to. When stuff go wrong or whatever, she going and talking to him and relying on him. Now he's walking around. He's going to be his mama. He's going to be the bodyguard. He's going to be the shield. He's going to always make sure that mama's good. It's the other people out there, they just bad. They just against her. And he's walking around carrying that with him. But not only just that, he don't realize that now he's walking around with her female trait. Now he has an attitude towards men. When he see a man, if a man says something, or when a man argue with him, he's taking the side of the woman. And that's what she's doing, having him take her side. He doesn't no longer have an opinion that can inform opinion. His opinion is based off of his mouth. They off the chain because you have to understand, remember, that what the Bible said is true. Spoil the rod, you spare the child. We got women out here now, they all following. I just got to keep it real and say it for what it is. We got black mothers who used to discipline their kids, no longer disciplining the kids. They following white household rules and structures. Gentle parenting, whole new what we call gentle parenting. We don't beat them or whatever. We just talk to them, whatever. But you're not doing that. Does not do nothing for a child. You spare the rod, you spoil the child. A child's supposed to be disciplined because now you're telling them, you building them with a no gene factor. And what I mean by a no gene factor is nobody can tell them no, and that's why they all because nobody can tell them no. You tell me no, I'll hurt you.
Yeah.
And that's what they ally them on that no factor. They don't know what it is to be told no. They don't know what it is to be told no. They don't know what it is to be disappointed. So you disappoint them, they get all in their feelings, and now guess what? They hurting somebody. Another parent saying they didn't spank your child. Yeah, it's going to be on. It's going to be a fight. Somebody about to die. They don't have that same respect or that same thought process of keeping their kids safe. Let them run wild.
Yeah. But we have to cut this short. We have to cut this short, gentlemen, because I got to make sure it's not going to interfere with the get it and everything. But with that being said, welcome. Thank you for checking out the show. Deep Perspective. Got the man Deacon in the house on top,
Yes.
and we're gonna say peace and remember to keep it.
That's what's up.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Keep your head up.
Keep your head up.
Keep your
Yes.
head up.